Well, hey folks, I'm putting together a PPOLB lawn sweeper that I got at Walmart, but there's a lot of these that are made, and I think they're the exactly same unit from China. And I want to post a little video on how to put it together because I struggled with the instructions. They're very light on information. So let me just go through the things I've learned right this minute. I'm going to give you a review on how to put together this lawn sweeper. Probably a lot of the principles apply to Mini, but this is one I got from Walmart. And although I'll try to put this at the beginning, watch the thing all the way through before you get started. And also there's a little webbing cord in the back of the netting. I'll show it to you right there. You want to fix that. You want to put the other end on the latch. It just comes stuck together with no webbing on the male side of the latch. So you want to get the webbing in it before you put it together, because when they tell you to do it, you can barely reach your hands back there to get to it. So do that first and it'll go together fairly easy. I cover that at the end of the video. Now, one nice thing about this kit is that they number or letter all of the pins and screws so you know what is what in the instructions. That is a plus. The other metal pieces are pretty self-explanatory, except these pieces that make up the yoke. I couldn't figure whether it went to the front or the back. It seemed counterintuitive to sink screws and washers down into holes. They've got like a dip, but that's the way it goes. And it says to tighten everything loosely to start with. So I've got them jiggly. And as you can see, the part with the end on it sticks out the back on the brush side. And then that means that this goes up in the air from this position. In the instructions, it looks like it's flat. You can't tell if it's up or down. But when you mount this, that should be pointing up. And the next step is mounting the hitch pieces. And you're supposed to leave this a little loose. And see these places right here? That's where the bolts go through these holes to hold it. You can either mount this up, or you can mount it down if you want to lower to the hitch to the ground. So I want mine higher, so I'm gonna mount it up. And it helps if you have, I've got a drill with an adapter and a 12 millimeter socket, and then you need a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter wrench to hold the bolts. Rather than nuts, these all have lock nut washers, but these are 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter, and the bolt side is 12. But it makes it a snap with a little electric drill and an adapter. And you can get these adapters at Harbor Freight, a whole set of them, 1/4 inch, 3/8 and 1/2 for a few dollars. And they've been so handy over the years. Now at this point, having just loosely assembled everything, they tell you now to tighten all these bolts down. I'm going to tighten these first to hold it in place, and then these right here. I think that'll be the best. We'll see. By the way, the other tools you're going to need for this is a razor knife. It's tons of packing, and a bunch of zip ties that I just loosened them and took them out instead of cutting them. But you can just cut them with these diagonal pliers. These are great to have. You can get the staples out of the box with it, and then you cut those zip ties in a second. And now we're moving on to attaching the bagging stuff. It seems a little bit counterintuitive that these things would go like this. I wanted to put them up like this, but no, they go pointing down as you got the thing laying like it is right here. Now, even though you can mount it both ways, make sure that the handle ends up in the middle. If you mount it like over this way, it's going to be way out of center. For mounting this piece, I would use a square just to make sure you've got it in line with that, okay? And you can mount this either way. It's not really clear in the instructions, but it appears if you mounted this thing the other way, it'd be so far away from this handle, it wouldn't work at all. So I'm gonna try this and see how it works. It's not very clear in the instructions. In fact, it's counterintuitive in the instructions. And once I got this all put together, I noticed it's just a wonky angle there on both of them. And I said, what's wrong? And then I remembered there's big slots behind these bolts, and so it can be adjusted. So I'm gonna loosen these and move it over, see if I can't get a nice smooth line. And that was it. When I moved the thing all the way to the left, it lines up just almost perfectly. I've gotten to the point where you put the upper bar in the bagger, and it says something about the back holes, but these little loops that are along the back side and inside of this netting, you have to fish it through left to right or right to left. Start at one and just work yourself all the way around. It's not very clear, but that's what you have to do. With the, it says the holes, there's 2 holes here. I'm gonna point them down as you fish it through. Okay, so I finally got all that hooked up, and I just added a washer because I didn't like the way that hitch pin was going to ride on that cloth. And here's a real unexpected booger. When you get all done, everything, then you got to do this. You got to attach this strap. But the other end of the strap, the male end, is not attached to the cord. You have to do that. And I tried about 5 configurations where I found one that actually worked. And you have to go yeah, you have to go, if you're looking at it from the top, I guess it is, you got to go in, that's it. You have to, from the back side, you have to go in the first slot nearest the latch and then come back out, and with this on top. And there's some little teeth under here you can see, and it has to catch on those teeth or it doesn't even hold at all. And you should do that before you put all this together, to be honest with you, because you have to work up underneath there, and if you got short arms, forget it. Now I have to tell you that getting this central rod all the way across with the 2 hitch pins here is very hard. You have to keep working this thing to get it where it's got enough free tension in the screen to let you get it in these holes. There's a hole there on the webbing, and then there's a hole in the metal, but it doesn't line up. So the only way I found of finally getting it through was to push down in the middle to raise the rod up to go through the other side of the hole. So maybe you'll find that helpful. It's harder than it should be, really. I just thought I was done with that job. I got looking closer at the instructions, and this has to go between this and this. So I got to undo what I did and start over. I can't wait to see how it works to go through 4 holes. Well, actually 6 holes instead of just 4. The rope to pull the bag open, one end came heated, the other end did not. So I put a zip tie around it to hold it in place, and I'll melt this in so it doesn't unravel. That kind of helps it stay in place while you just take a match and heat the end of it. Well, here we are. It's all done. It's taken about 5 hours. And this rope is very hard to tie in a knot. So I put a wire lock on it right there. One of those little gizmos you stick through the end of it, pull it up tight, and that'll keep it from coming loose. I don't know how it's going to work, but it probably will work just fine. They usually do. I've used them before. But the main thing is, do not forget when this is limp, when you don't have anything in it at all, fix that that latch that goes on that nylon webbing cord right here before you put it all together, because it's very hard to do later. Okay? And you do it by, if you've got the latch like this, you go, there's 2 spaces, go under the space closest to the end of the latch where the teeth are, that looks like this, go in the first slot, bring it back down, and under itself out. And that way, the tighter it gets, the more it'll hold it fast. That's it. Enjoy.